What's up, gamers? Welcome to episode 29 of the Busted Buttons Video Game Podcast. And I know there's been a lot going on in the video game world here the last week or so. We got the PlayStation Showcase where we finally got the release date and the price points for the new PlayStation.
We know which one I'm buying now.
I can't wait those 2 extra days. I got to buy the Xbox. It comes out first.
Yeah.
But we also had a Nintendo Mini Direct, kind of like a partner showcase type thing. But we promised you at the end of last episode that this time we were going to talk about Super Mario 64. So damn it, we're going to talk about Super Mario 64. And I think it's perfectly appropriate because by the time we get this podcast out to everyone, Mario 3D All-Stars will be hopefully in everyone's hands and everyone will be enjoying it. I, for one, am super excited to dive back into Mario 64. I'm extremely excited to talk about it today. So we're going to spend some time talking about the gameplay, the worlds, the Bowser levels, and general Bowser fights, and then kind of the lasting legacy of Mario 64. And you know us, I'm sure we'll go off on some various topics, especially on a franchise as big and long-lasting and influential as Mario. So we're just gonna dive right in. We're gonna start with the gameplay, and I'm gonna throw it to you. What really stands out to you about the gameplay in Super Mario 64?
I mean, first of all, this is a hard game for me to talk about because I've kind of talked about this before in the past, but I didn't experience this game when it came out. And it's probably one of the biggest regrets that I have because I was around 13 years old when the N64 came out. And that was a good nostalgia. If I would have played Super Mario 64 back in the day, it would have been great nostalgia for me. But since I didn't, I'm missing that. And that really has nothing to do with gameplay. I just kind of, before we got into the podcast, I kind of just want to start off with, it's just tough for me to talk about this game because while I do think it's a great game, it should mean so much more to me, and it doesn't. And it's basically just from a nostalgia standpoint. But anyways, the gameplay, I mean, everybody knows this. One of the first, I'm not sure if it was exactly the first one, but one of the first main ones, 3D platformer. You had the camera going around you, even though the camera was a little at the time. The C-buttons, those weren't the most fun to use, but just, it was a game that changed everything. It launched with the Nintendo 64. Almost everything up to that point had been 2D. You had Star Fox on the Super Nintendo that was 3D, but nothing like this. And so, you're using 3 axes, if that's the right word. I'm not really sure.
Axes?
Yeah, axes, whatever. Maybe? Y, Z, and X. You know what I'm talking about. But really, I mean, everybody knows it. A game changer and a game, we'll kind of talk about the legacy later on, but just a game that really changed everything and it brought an open world playability to Mario. I mean, before it was so simple. It was like, hey, start a level, go to the end of the level. That's all it was. Yeah. And this game was completely different. You had missions. You had some things you couldn't do until after you did certain missions. You could just run around and stuff. And then it also brought some linearity with the Bowser levels, which we'll also talk about.
For sure.
So it had a little bit of the old games in it, but then it also had, all this new stuff going on.
And I think that's what really jumped out to me first and foremost. When you first enter and you're outside of Peach's castle and you literally just start out there and she says, hey, I baked a cake for you. Come see me. And you could wander all around the castle. You could jump in the moat. You could climb the trees. And it's not huge by any stretch of the imagination. No. It's a pretty small.
But it was pretty big back in the day, though.
It felt huge back in the day. And then just going into the castle, and especially once you're able to open up the various floors to it, you find the little secret areas and things like that. I loved the whole hub concept, and that's just not something we've gotten in a Mario game especially, but I feel like we didn't get it all that much in video games in general, and I feel like that really helped pave the way or open the way for more open world games. I know there were some Super Nintendo and some of the big Japanese RPGs like your Final Fantasies, things like that were very open. You could wander around the world pretty good. But to take that to 3D and create this, what felt like at the time, a massive castle and castle grounds and courtyard and all that stuff, it was so revolutionary at the time. And it does crack me up because Mario 64, even though it was a launch title for the Nintendo 64, actually wasn't even the first game that I got for it. I actually did Mario Kart 64 first, and then I eventually got Mario 64.
Well,
you
at
know,
least you played Mario
down the line.
64 back in the day, okay?
Yeah, true. So unlike you, the nostalgia is very strong with this. I mean, I remember when I got my 3DS, I actually went back and bought, Super Mario 64 DS, so I could go back and play it again, on the handheld. So for me, just like that open world feel, and that's what really stood out to me as like what was so game breaking and game changing at the time. And I mean, I'm not going to say it perfected like 3D gaming, because it had its flaws. The camera was rough, some of the controls.
But it was 96 at the same time,
Exactly.
So yeah, it was a little rough, but it was also the first game. Like I said, I don't know if it was the exact first game, I've said that, but it was one of the first ones. And like, for being in 96, it maybe didn't do the best that it could. And yeah, it's a little rough around the edges. It was a little rough back in the day, but still, I mean, it was so difficult and so like special to pull off something like that you gotta remember that when you're talking about it.
And that's one thing, you're absolutely right. We're talking about a game that's 25 years old now, almost 25 years old. So anytime we talk about, it's a little rough. The visuals are a little rough. The camera control's a little rough. It's at the time it was pretty. Yeah,
I mean, the camera sucked at the time, but it was still amazing to have.
It really was. But I just really liked the departures it took. And you mentioned this a little bit, getting away from like the linearity of old Mario games. But that's not all like the only way it really deviated from the old Mario system. Like, you had the hub instead of just like the overworld where you go level to level. Like, we didn't have time limits in the levels anymore. And these massive levels or worlds, which we're going to get into here in a few minutes, like, they were huge and very fun, I thought, to explore in general. So not having the pressure of a time limit was such a nice relief, and it really freed you up to take advantage of that like open world concept. So you could explore these worlds really thoroughly. You could find all the secrets, the coins, the stars, everything. So I just really liked how it departed from the standard Mario formula. Like, in that way, you didn't feel that same, the pressure you felt was like, okay, am I going to land this jump? Am I going to pull this off? Not, am I going to get to the end before I run out of time? So, and then like you mentioned, just most of the worlds like had a first, like a first objective, whether it was beat a boss. Normally it was like beat a boss of that world, something like that. And then after that, the world changed a little bit and it opened up more of the stars for you to get. And I'm really glad you mentioned that, because it's like, it made it feel a little more like you're progressing a little bit more. And then you could still go back and select like that first star if you want to go fight that boss again, which was kind of cool. So I really like the big deviations that it had from the prior Mario games. But a big one was the cap power-ups. And that's something we get a little more, obviously, with various suits and then Cappy.
Yeah.
But at the time, what were your thoughts about them introducing these cap power-ups in Mario 64?
I mean, once again, it was unique. It was a game changer is really what it was, because it's just something that we really hadn't done up till that time. Mario 64, it changed everything. And first of all, the wing cap. That thing was awesome, just going up in the sky, flying around. That was by far the best one. The metal cap kind of made you immune to most damage. I think it helped you withstand wind, walk underwater, unaffected by gases. It might have done some other things. But just, I don't remember if it made the sound or not. I want to say it made like the clunky sound. Doesn't really matter if
I don't
it did
remember.
or not.
That's a good question. Yeah,
but it was like a cool look, just metal Mario. Very cool. And then the Vanish Cap, there's always those things that you don't know how to get in games. Like, for example, and I think it was either Jolly Roger Bay or Dire Docks. I don't remember which one, but there's a power star behind a cage. And the only way I believe, I couldn't go, folks, here's the deal with this game. I couldn't go back and replay it like I do most games when I'm reminiscing and preparing for these podcasts. I had it on the Wii U, and I also had it on the Wii, both of those actually being on the Wii U, but I had just started the game, so I couldn't really go far into it. And then my Nintendo 64 is somewhere in storage. I've not gotten it since the move, so I'm sitting here. If I don't know the worlds exactly how I would like to know them, it's because I really couldn't play the game. Like go through it. I could go through the games. I didn't have a bean copy of it, but whichever one that Power Star is in the cage, it's just very cool that you're sitting there. How in the world do I get this power star? And there's this ability, the Vanish Cap, which, makes you basically go through obstacles, and also, but you don't take some damage from certain enemies or all enemies. Don't know exactly how it works. Haven't played the game in a long time because, once again, couldn't fucking go through and play it today. But Those three things right there, because what you missed with this game was power-ups. Like you had a life meter. You didn't have a mushroom, you didn't have a flower, you didn't have a leaf. And so these things replaced those things. And we've had, a form of flying in Mario before. With Mario 3, you had the power wing or whatever it's called. I believe it's called the power wing. But
the P-wing, yeah.
Yeah, but you had these other things that you could do. But, these three power-ups, it didn't necessarily replace those power-ups from prior games, but it had just, a little something extra to the game that, like I said, the wing cap, man. The wing cap was an absolute blast. Made some of the stars so much fun to get. So that was just one of those things that they really didn't need to do, but they did do. It added just a little bit of, spice. It added a little bit of
It gives
spice
variety
to the game, and it just made it fun.
Yeah, plus like we mentioned, like the worlds feeling like you progress a little bit, you complete objectives. Like some of the worlds would have stars you couldn't get until you activated like the switch that let you get the wing cap or the metal cap and vanish cap. And
were those all in Peach's Castle, like where you activated those? I know a couple of them were, but I couldn't remember if all of them were.
I know the wing cap is because you look up at the sun from the very first entrance.
And I know I believe the vanish cap is because I remember that steep incline that you kind of jump down, then go through a little platforming. It's somewhere like to get a power star in Peach's Castle. Yeah. And I almost said Hyrule Castle. But I want to say vanish cap you also got within the castle during a power star.
And it probably is, but I'm with you. I have not played the game all the way through in a long time. Mm-hmm. It is the first one I'm going to play once I get my hands on the Mario 3D All-Stars. But it's just, along with the special powers, just the new abilities that you have just in your regular Mario form, is so far above and beyond.
I want to go ahead and stop you real quick, because before the podcast, I was like, okay, let's people, we record our podcasts a little bit earlier than, we got to edit them and everything. So it takes a couple of days to get out. So at the beginning, I was like, hey, Red, just talk about this podcast like the game's already out. And then you said, hey, the game's coming out soon, which I was fine with. I was fine with all that.
My bad.
And then you want to be a fucking asshole and say, I want to play Mario 64 when I finally get my hands on it. Fuck you, asshole. You're the one person that got it a day early today, got it one day before everybody else did. So don't sit there and say, hey, I'm going to play Mario 64 when I get my hands on it. No, you already fucking got it. You got it before everybody else, and you're the asshole that doesn't pay for Nintendo Switch Online, but you get your damn games a day early, and I'm upset about it. So, you already have played 3D All-Stars, so don't be I was fine until you said, I'm going to play Mario 64 when I get my hands on it. I was like, I can't let that shit slide. So, but go ahead.
Hey, I'm happy to live in a city that has an Amazon distribution center. So mine showed up a day before release date. I'm not bitching about it. I'm not complaining. And yes, I have already fired up Mario 64 today. So during my lunch break, of course. So, But no, just like the abilities that you have, that just took so far beyond what you had in this NES or Super Nintendo ones. In those games, you could run and you could jump. That was literally, and you had the pea suit and all that stuff, whatever. You could fly a little bit. But now you've got the triple jump, the long jump, the backflip, the wall jumping, the variety of ways you had to navigate opened up the platforming so well. Mm-hmm. And then the 3D gate and the 3D and those various moves let them make these levels that are not just, like you said, not just a straight line. And everyone who listens knows we love that verticality. Some of these worlds, and like I said, we're going to get into those in just a minute.
We need to say that word in every podcast at least one time.
We almost do. I'm pretty sure we almost do.
I feel like that's our word now.
But just how tall they make some of these levels. Just playing something like Whomp Fortress, where you're making your way to the top of the fortress. And it's not huge by today's standards at any stretch of the imagination. No. But having platforming now go, like you mentioned, the 3 different axes now. It's not just going from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. And it was just so mind-blowing. I remember back in the day just getting the the old Nintendo player's guide for this game just to find a bunch of the stars. Yeah. And just looking at the maps of these levels in that player's guide, it was kind of breathtaking, just being these are beautiful, massive worlds. And it really blew my mind just what they were able to do when you added in that 3D element and then also the various platforming abilities that they gave to Mario. So I think we've sat here and spent enough time mentioning worlds and saying we're going to talk about them. let's fucking get to the worlds, because this really is like the meat and bones of the game, is exploring these, what are there, 15 worlds?
Yep, 15.
Oh my God. So they are the real meat and bones. So dive right into the worlds for me. Jump in wherever you want.
I wasn't
That was
really
not a
sure
very
where you
good
wanted to go.
transition.
So we're not going to really talk about all of them. We're like in detail or
No.
anything like that. We're not going to give a ranking because, to be honest with you, I have no clue. Now, that map that you were talking about in the Nintendo magazine, that would have been very beneficial for me today because I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and so I kind of knew the worlds, but I just didn't know like every aspect and everything that came in them. But first of all, there's some worlds that are not as good as others, but as a whole, every single one offers its own thing, obviously. But what I'm trying to say is, in my opinion, they were all fun. Yeah, some weren't as good as the others, but they were all a really good time. But you kind of got some of the first ones, like I don't really know how I'm going to go about this, Red, so I'm just going to do whatever
Hey, that's why I
comes
threw
to
it
my
to you. I
mind.
wasn't really sure how we wanted to do it
And then you can
either.
go after that, okay?
Works for me.
Just Bob-Omb Battlefield, Whomp's Fortress, like just two really good introductory worlds that I think was important for this game, because here's the thing. This game could have done linearity throughout. We saw it in the Bowser levels, and the Bowser levels were a lot of fun. So they could have definitely done where you just walk through 3D platforming the whole game, and it would have worked. But just like, bringing that open world, they had to show it right away. And I guess Whomp's Fortress is not as good as Bob-Omb Battlefield. Like Bob-Omb Battlefield, you can basically just run around anywhere that you want to. Whomp's Fortress has a little bit of that, but it's kind of more platforming, going up towers and everything. But just those two, now you could do these out of order. So, we're kind of just going through an order that we have written down that some players might have went through like that, but you really could jump around this game. But just those first two right there that I played, I just thought were great introductory worlds, like, great platforming, but then also great open world forming, I guess. I know, open world playing, whatever you want to call it. But what kind of were your opinions on those two?
You're absolutely right. They're probably the first two that most people did, because obviously Bob-Omb Battlefield had to be your first one. It's the first one you can get to.
Yeah, that's true.
But then once you get like only 1 star, you could go on to Whomp's Fortress. Yeah, and that's one thing we didn't really hit on this. Like, I really loved how you could play these worlds in absolutely any order you want. And don't worry, I will get back to talking about the worlds, because I know that's why you asked me. But like, getting able to play them in any order you wanted, as long as you had enough stars. So if you went to Bob-Omb Battlefield and got, the 5, 6, however many stars you wanted right off the bat, you could pretty much get into any of the first, 5 worlds on the main level of Peach's Castle. But, most people, like you said, I think would go to the next one in line, which you only need 1 star to get into, and that's Whomp's Fortress. But I'm with you. Like, Bob-Omb Battlefield introduced you could run around. You could go wherever you wanted. It was fine. Not a whole lot to it. You learned the basics, the mechanics. And then Whomp's Fortress added a bit of that, that climbing, the platforming to it. So I liked how those two really did build on each other. But the next two that we have kind of on our list, I think, are where the game really started to show the diversity of the levels. And that's, you had Jolly Roger Bay and Cool Cool Mountain. So you had one almost entire like water level, which I will say Jolly Roger Bay and Dry Docks were
Dire Docks.
What'd I say?
You said dry docks. You
I've been drinking, leave me alone.
Yeah, Wet Dry World. That was one of them.
Dire docks is what I meant to say. Yeah, like those two, they nailed the water levels. I thought in Mario 64. Like, the swimming was not always precise, and running out of air and drowning sucked. And was also morbid because they showed Mario clutching his throat and drowning. Little creepy. But like, I think they nailed the feel and the music of the water level.
Definitely nailed the music.
Yeah, so Jolly Roger Bay, absolutely loved it. And then Cool Cool Mountain, just an ice area, a snow area. And just these two are where the game really started to show, hey, you're not just going to get these nice green areas all throughout the game. You were going to get a variety. So I was a huge fan of Jolly Roger Bay and Cool Cool Mountain. Like the slide race in Cool Cool Mountain was just one of those things. It was tough, but it really stands out. So so what did you think of kind of like Jolly Roger Bay and Cool Cool Mountain?
Jolly Roger Bay was actually very cool. Like, it had the whole sunken ship thing. And then, like, when you, I think, open those treasure chests, like, in a certain order, I believe that's what made it, like, float to the top. But it was just very cool that you went in there, however many stars, I don't remember exactly, but it might have been the first one. But you go down there, and there's this sunken ship, and then in later Power Stars, that ship is floating. Like, just a simple mechanic like that,
It's that progression. We like it.
Yeah. Like, I just thought that was very cool. And then, like I said, Cool Mountain, like, definitely the slide. I think there was 2 different power stars that you could get from the slide, because one was racing the penguin, but like he kind of said, like, you got away, like Bob-Omb Battlefield and Whomp's Fortress were just very, like, green. I don't think Whomp's Fortress was green, but just like a regular land that you kind of just went through. And then bam, here's a water one, and then here's a snow one, showing that, hey, this game, it's going to be a little bit different. Like, we're going to have different types of worlds, which brings me to Big Boo's Haunt, which I'm not ever a big fan of the ghost worlds in any Mario game. They just never been my favorite. I hate, like, I don't mind puzzles, but when it's like pick the right door, fuck that shit, man. I ain't got time for that shit. I ain't got time to go back through things. At that point. And like time limits and everything. No, I just don't like the Haunted Mansion, the Big Boo stages in Mario, but this one was cool because we got a mansion for the first time. And like we had, you went inside a mansion in the 2D platforming games on the NES and SNES, but it was nothing like this. And so just kind of, it kind of went back to the originals, like, or at least Mario 3.
I think it was Super Nintendo kind of.
Yeah, you might be right. I think you are right on that. But it kind of went back to, like, these first couple worlds, like, they were new and unique for the most part, I feel. But then you get the Big Boo's Haunt, and then this is going back to the Super Nintendo. This is something that we've seen before, so I kind of just loved them throwing that out there. It was so fun going through a mansion. Not one of my favorite worlds, but I just really liked it. Did you have similar opinions on it?
Yeah, that was my thought. I just thought it was such a great throwback to the Super Nintendo. Like, you had those haunted levels. And I thought that it translated that to the 3D very well. Plus, just having a mansion inside Peach's castle, like the way all that works, it was creepy and supernatural. So I was a big fan. It was spooky. It had a great atmosphere.
And how about the way you entered the world? Like, you had to go out in that courtyard in Peach's castle, hit that boo, and then you went to a cage, and that's how you got to the world. You didn't go through a painting.
Yeah, I thought that was obviously unique to the game. That's one of the few ones you didn't enter through a painting. So I love the concept. Like I said, a great throwback to the SNES. We've kind of mentioned how, like, Jolly Roger Bay and Cool and Big Boo's Haunt. Wow, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You said Big Boo's, I think, there for a second.
Hey, nothing wrong with those either.
I understand why that one happened. Because the dry, that was bullshit, but the Big Boo's, now that's honest.
Hey, we all like those. But it really, like we said, it demonstrated the variety. And then the next, like, 3 levels were all so different too. Like, Hazy Maze Cave was like a dark underground like area where you got to use Metal Mario. Yeah. You had like all the gas around. I wasn't big on that one. It wasn't one of my favorites. I did kind of like the maze area that was in there. I think it was a cool place that they chose to put, like, the Loch Ness Monster creature was randomly in Hazy Maze Cave. And I'm like, he figured he'd be in Jolly Roger Bay or Dire Docks.
Definitely.
But, it was a great use of the Metal Mario to get through the gassy areas. And then, of course, Lethal Lava Land and the Shifting Sand Land. I mean, you had a lava world, which is a must-have for Mario games. Yeah. Shifting Sand Land was a beautiful desert world with a pyramid that you got to explore. Like, for me, like, I will always compare that to some of the desert stages in, like, Zelda games. Even though, Ocarina of Time came after this, obviously. But, like, that is still my association when I see that pyramid. So I know you kind of said you weren't a huge fan of Hazy Maze Cave, but what did you kind of think of Lethal Lava Land and the Shifting Sand Land?
Well, like, I watched some rankings, over the years and also before we did this podcast today. Yeah. And for Shifting Sand, a lot of people, I feel, don't have that as high as it should be. Like, I absolutely love that world. Like, it was just, first of all, it looked awesome. You get to the sand land, and then there's a big pyramid in the middle. Just a great look. You're running around. Still a lot of open world playability to it. You can go a lot of different places, but there's still that central hub that that, hey, there's a lot of things that are going down in that pyramid. I got to get to it. And then you get to it, and there are a ton of things to do. I don't know. It just looks...
If I'm not mistaken, there were multiple stars in there. So I think you're right there.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but I just remember, like, it was so cool just going into it because, and here's the thing, man, like, games these days, like, if you go into a pyramid, who gives a shit? Okay, cool, we're going into a pyramid. Back in those days, it was different. because you hadn't got
beautiful.
something like that before. You hadn't walked into a 3D pyramid. So just something as simple as seeing a pyramid, going around sand and walking into it, that was awesome. And like that's one thing that I kind of miss with gaming today is that we take things for granted because, you know, games,
Absolutely.
they keep progressing, and the stuff that used to be cool is no longer cool because we expect it. So that's one thing that's going to continue, and it sucks, and I understand it, and it's never going to change, but it's one thing that I miss with gaming. So just, I don't know, Shifting Sandland, I just always really liked it. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I can't tell you it's at the top. Just a ton of fun. Loved the way it looked. Lethal Lava Land. I thought that was some great platforming that went in. That was like just like, you know, a big lava sea. Like, you know, it was about, it should have, well, not should have been. It looked like a Bowser level, but it wasn't.
Did.
And that's one thing that was cool about it is all these lava lands that we have gone through before was always when we were going to fight Bowser.
Yep.
This is one that was, now you might fight the second Bowser somewhere around there. I don't exactly remember. But like this was just one that was just there. It was just a lava world really thrown into the middle of the game. Like you would expect this kind of towards like, you know, around World 14, World 15, but no, we're just going to drop it right here in the middle. And that was so cool because it had not been like that in any other Mario game. So I just absolutely
Plus the lava
loved
looked beautiful at the time. Even under like we always are fans of like lava in like the more recent games because I think the fire looks really cool. Yep. Even for its time, I thought it looked really awesome. But anyway, sorry, continue.
What was that? Oh yeah, and the Hazy
Unless
Maze
you're
Cave. Done. You know, like Hazy Maze Cave, it's all right. You know, it's never been really one of my favorites.
It was
the gas thing, I think is kind of cool. You know, whatever. But let's kind of move on because I'm done with those worlds.
Hey, there you go.
I kind of talk about see, I'm kind of trying to lump them together, but you know, I'm not. But we kind of talked about a water one and a winter one, so let's do it again. Dire Docks, Snowman's Land. What's your opinion on those?
So I kind of hit on Dire Docks a little bit earlier back when we were talking about Jolly Roger Bay, and I fucked up and called it Dry Docks. But anyway, like I love Dire Docks. Like this concept of Bowser having a fucking submarine blows my mind, and the fact that has never been used, as far as I know, in a Mario game since then, just it's mind-boggling to me because I remember getting into Dire Docks and being like, "There's a whole damn nuclear sub down here." Yeah. Like, this is awesome. I'm like, Bowser, why aren't you using this instead of your airship?
It's been 35 years. 35 years. And you have not realized that the airship has not done very well for you. So why don't you switch it up, Bowser? Why don't you use a submarine for once, see how that plays out, and then who knows? We may get a Mario downfall timeline from it.
Okay, the last thing we need is a freaking timeline split
that splits
in
3
Mario.
ways.
But anyway, like no, Dire Docks, I thought, you know, I love the water levels. I mentioned that earlier. Like, I thought the theme, the concept of the water levels, they were all beautiful. Dire Docks also kind of incorporated a little bit of like the platforming, like the platforming of getting to the sub, where you're jumping like from pole to pole or pillar to pillar to get there, like up above the surface of the water. It was kind of stressful and challenging, especially with kind of some of the camera angle issues that this game did have. Again, you know, 1996, things weren't perfect. But like the challenge was a good challenge. Like you knew if you fucked up, it was normally your fault. So I thought Dire Docks did a great job of mixing like the water level concept with the idea of like the platforming up above it and the theme. And I can't remember if Dire Docks and Jolly Roger Bay shared a common theme. But Mario games have always nailed the music for water levels. I mean, I think about something like Lake Lamode in Mario Galaxy, which, not Galaxy, I'm sorry, Odyssey. Jeez, thank you, God. Maybe I need to drink more. Anyway, but like where it was a beautiful with such a peaceful music and like a beautiful level, and I think that really started here with Mario 64. So Dire Docks was really high on my list. Absolutely loved it. I want to see the fucking submarine in a future Mario game.
Yes, sir.
Hey, the airship ain't working, Bowser. Change it up. We know you got a submarine, but you know.
I mean, I'm the same way with Dire Docks, and I do believe, because I was going through, when I was first preparing for this game, I was like, oh, cool. I get to listen to 15 different world themes. As I'm going through, I'm kind of figuring out that maybe that's not the case. So I think there are some worlds that do have the same theme, and I think that Dire Docks and Jolly Rancher Bay do have the same theme.
Did you say Jolly Rancher Bay?
Yeah, I did say Jolly Rancher Bay. You know, I knew I was going to say that today.
You can't give me shit anymore.
You know what's bad is I was actually looking at the word when I said it, and I still got it wrong. But that'd been a lot cooler name. You know what? I guarantee that's what they were thinking, but then licensing rights would not let them do that. But I'm pretty sure those do have the same theme. Not 100% sure, but kind of just like you said, the water levels, they're not my favorite, but I also they're not my most hated. Like, they're always kind of like right there in the middle, maybe more towards the top, but just, they serve their purpose. They look beautiful. They usually have solid themes, and they're just, like, they just look, I think I already said they look good. Obviously, I was running out of adjectives and other things to say there. They look good. They have good themes. They're peaceful. That's water worlds in Mario games. Now the director, not I was talking about.
Wow, you're all out of your game.
Jesus, I need some more. I need some more. I need some more beer too.
The other one you had mentioned before you
Snowman's Land
was Snowman's Land.
The thing with Snowman's Land is it was a letdown. Like, you had this big snowman, like, you know, the main attraction, and then I believe it was the first Power Star. You went up this snowman and, like, you know, got Power Star obviously at the very top, and then, like, it didn't utilize it after that. Like, and so it was just this big, like, not big open world, but just this world that really, like, the main attraction, bam, you got there, you saw it, and then there was nothing after that. Really, I've not seen Mount Rushmore, but this is what I've heard about Mount Rushmore. Like, you know, you're all excited, you've seen it, you get there, you see the main attraction, and then blah, there's just nothing. And that was kind of Snowman's Land. It was the Mount Rushmore of Mario games. Wow, this cool big snowman. We go up him. Oh, this first part is awesome. And then just, that's all there is to it.
Well, and you know that I completely agree with you when my first thought when I was reading through the list of the worlds here was, what the fuck was Snowman's Land? Like, almost every one of these, it has a very unique concept or idea to it that stands out. Snowman's Land, yes, it has the big snowman. Duh, hence the name. But I get it in, like, Cool Mountain just mixed up. And, like, I think of Cool Mountain and you think of the slide. You think of the penguin, like the mother penguin that you have to reunite with the baby penguin. I think of kicking the baby penguin off the side of the damn world because it was fun and I hated listening to it cry.
Cool Mountain was just cooler. That's what it was, man.
It absolutely was. But yeah, then Snowman's Land, I'm like, no.
It had all your Jolly Ranchers before you went to it in Jolly Rancher Bay.
Oh, so I'm with you on Snowman's Land. Like, you had the big central feature and then nothing else. But the next three that I kind of want to lump together aren't necessarily like in any like order that you would play them, but they all had a feature that I thought was a really cool idea. So Wet Dry World, Tiny Huge Island, and Tick Tock Clock, all three of those changed depending on how you entered the level. And I thought that was such an amazing idea. So for Wet Dry World, if you entered the bottom of the painting, the water would be drained really, really low. If you entered the top of the painting, the water level would be high. And like, depending on which star you were going for, you had to enter at a certain level, like a certain water level. And so to me, like, that was revolutionary. Tiny Huge Island had like the room that you entered had the three paintings. Like the one on the left, you went in and the world, I'm trying to remember exactly how it was. Either the world was tiny or you were tiny. And then if you entered the painting on the right, it was the other way around. So it's the same world, but your perspective is changed. Like, either you're massive or you are, like you said, Tiny Huge Island, or you are tiny. So, and then Tick Tock Clock, I thought was one of the most unique, just depending on when you jumped into the clock, like where the position of the hands of the clock were impacted how quickly some of the pieces of the clock were moving. So to me, like, I always associate those three together because of just the idea of changing the world by how you enter them. Like, seemed mind-blowing and kind of revolutionary at the time. Did any of those three kind of really stand out to you, or were you the same with me? You just kind of lump them together and it was all cool. What'd you think?
Yeah, Wet Dry World, you know, is okay. But Tiny Huge Island, the reason that I like that one is because we didn't get, like I said, we didn't get power-ups in this game. We didn't get the mushroom, the flower. So that game kind of like went back to that whole power-up concept because you could be huge or you could be small. So I kind of always liked that aspect of it, is that it kind of felt somewhat to, like, you know, it was going back to the old Mario games a little bit in a way. And then Tick Tock Clock, a lot of people don't seem to like that one very much. I'm so on it, but I think it was very, very unique and very, very cool. Just like going up a clock and just like it was a great platforming world. Very difficult
Oh my God,
platforming world, but it was a great platforming world. So
and that's why you mentioned that it may have not been very high. And sorry for cutting you off.
That's
but
fine.
like not that high on people's lists. Tick Tock Clock, it might be my favorite world in Mario 64.
Yeah. Well, it took away that open world, like, playability.
It did.
Like, you didn't have that, but the platforming on it was solid.
Yeah.
And then when you jump through the clocks and it moves at different speeds. So I wouldn't say that's like, one of my favorites, but I think it was a very revolutionary stage, even though it was
the
simple.
platforming was the best in the game.
Definitely. And then, like, Rainbow Ride, like, that is one. Okay, I've said this many times. I just like Mario worlds that are up in the sky, and that's what Rainbow Ride was. There's really nothing. I don't want to say too special, but it did look. I mean, it looked cool. Like the only thing that sucked about that world was you went so slow on a magic carpet all the way around, but kind of going all the way around, sort of like on a roller coaster and everything. That part was cool about it. So it's always one of those that like, oh, I sit here and I say, oh man, that was cool, and then I also say, that was okay, which you can really say for any world.
Is cool,
but Rainbow Ride, like. I do like it. I do think it's kind of cool, but it's not the top or anything like that. But I don't know how I feel about it as the last world. Do you think it's a good last world?
I did not. I'm kind of with you. Like conceptually, it was really cool. I like the idea. Of course, we'd always had Rainbow Road, or we had Rainbow Road in Super Mario Kart. So to see them take that concept and try to translate it to a 3D platformer,
but that's not a world that you get before Bowser. Usually, that's where I kind of get thrown off with it.
Yeah, and I'm with you too. So it's like it was a little underwhelming. Like I said, being up in the sky was great. I liked all that, but it was slow moving. It was tedious at times. So for me, I'm kind of with you. It did not jump out to me as like, hey, this is the last world other than the Bowser world. So but the one we did skip was Tall Mountain. And we skipped it for a reason. So anyway,
it had verticality to it.
It had verticality. It was tall. It was
but I mean, it was very fun. Like there was nothing great about that one. It kind of to me always felt like Bob-Omb Battlefield and Womp's Fortress. You're basically just climbing up a platforming area, but
good platforming.
Nothing stood out to it, but it was cool going all the way up that mountain and stuff. So I wouldn't sit here and say it was like, a terrible world or anything. Just it wasn't really memorable, but kind of what I want to switch off to because we've been talking about the worlds for a while. I want to talk about the Bowser levels.
Oh, we mentioned them a few times. Yeah,
these went back to the linearity of earlier Mario games. And in a game that had a lot of open world playability, I think it was very important for the Bowser levels to just do that classic platforming. I was about to say 3D platforming, but that would not be classic because this was the first one to do 3D. But I mean, overall, okay, you had the Dark World, you had the Fire Sea, and you had the Sky. Absolutely loved going through these different platforming stages. I'm not really huge on the Bowser fights. I didn't even know to review them today. Well, I knew, but I had forgotten that
it's been a while.
A lot of these fights, you only had to hit them like once or twice. And so, that's kind of a letdown. I'm not huge on the Bowser fights, but how do you kind of feel about, let's just go through all of them just really quickly. The Dark World, the Fire Sea, and the Sky. Kind of just go through them.
Well, and just before going through them one by one, I liked the idea of them returning to that linearity. And that is something like in Mario Odyssey, years and years and years and years later, there were some of the like bonus areas where whether you went through a door or you shot off on a rocket ship that had a very linear section. Yeah. Even in an open world game like Odyssey, and in this case with Mario 64, I think having a bit of a return to that linearity, even though yes, it's still 3D platforming, but you're going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And like I loved it. I'm with you. I know you were a huge fan of that. I loved that concept. And like I said, I'm glad it's something they really did kind of bring back in Mario Odyssey. And it's something I don't want to see necessarily an entire Mario game, like a 3D Mario game built around that. But by having areas like that, like we got in Odyssey, I thought it was a great, just a great way to
sometimes
bridge that
you just
gap.
Gotta keep it simple. Like,
exactly.
It goes back to open world gaming. Like, you have all these huge main quests and some huge side quests. Yeah. Sometimes it's just awesome to get a side quest where you walk from one area to another and just do something simple. Like,
for sure.
Sometimes that simplicity is a great breakup in a complex game.
It really is. And then, kind of going through the 3 actual levels, like Dark World, it looked cool. The music for all 3 of them, first of all, is really good. Like
agreed.
It's got like that urgent, frantic kind of feel to it. Dark World didn't really jump out to me a lot, but
Same.
Fire Sea, that is like, we mentioned this with the Lethal Lava Land. This looks like the area where you would fight Bowser. Like just the lava all around you.
So should that have been the last one or not?
I think so. And I get Bowser in the Sky kind of ties with
Because,
Rainbow
I think that
Ride,
looks cool. I think the sky looks very cool.
It does. And that sky in the sky, of course, like you said, it's got that dark, menacing kind of like purple color.
Link to the Past, Dark World. That's what it felt like.
Exactly. So I think all 3 were like I said, I love the linearity. I would say like Fire Sea was probably my favorite because it feels the most like classic Bowser fight feel to it. But all in all, I like the idea. I like the idea of going back to the linearity. So
yeah, it's like you said, the theme was awesome.
I
kind of go back and forth on, like I asked you, that Fire Sea, should have been last, should not have been last. And common knowledge would tell you, hey, the Fire Sea, that's how it's always been. It should be last. But man, that sky and the menacing look that those clouds had, I mean, that really added to that final platforming stage. And just having a platforming stage where, all of them were like this, where you could just drop down, and now you could drop down to a lower platform and land on it, but usually you just fell off the platform and had to restart the whole thing. So having the last one up in the sky kind of adds to that scary feeling. So, you know what? Maybe Fire Sea should have been last, but, I'm not going to sit here and knock it. But anyways, I think both of us agree. We love the Bowser levels. The fights, we don't really even need to talk about the fights because there wasn't really much to the fight. I've never actually beat this game. I got to the final Bowser fight, and I was trying to throw him and hit the bombs. I couldn't do it. I was like, dude, I got better things to do. I've gotten the experience of the game. Like, I can go online. I can watch the ending. Yeah. I'm good.
Hey, you got a cake. That's the ending.
Yeah, which is a story. Basically, you go to get cake at the castle. You get there. Bowser took Peach, and then you go to rescue Peach. That's the story. That's why we didn't address it. Yep. Let's get to the legacy of the game before we finish up. Red, you're probably going to have a lot stronger feelings on this game than I do because of when I played it. But just overall, what are your feelings on this game?
I mean, and a lot of this is going to be driven by nostalgia because I did get to play it when it came out. But to me, it was mind-blowing. It really was a game. Every now and then you play a game that totally changes your opinion of what video games can be and what video games.
And we will talk about
do.
Witcher 3 one day, everybody, okay?
One of these days. Because trust me, Witcher 3 is absolutely one of those games.
Yeah.
But just to me, like just transitioning from your Super Mario World, your Link to the Past, your Super Metroids, your 2D games, or even like I said, even your open world Final Fantasy games that were still big open world games, but still that top down view.
Yeah.
Like transitioning to this pure 3D. And we had gotten a little bit of it on PC at the time. Like games like Doom, stuff like that, kind of had a little bit of that 3D. But this is when like open world to me was born in its true third, adventure open world game. So for me, like
and 3D platforming,
and absolutely 3D platforming. I know a lot of people point to like Ocarina of Time as being the more influential or bigger influence, and I won't argue against that because obviously Ocarina of Time is widely considered the best game of all time. But Mario 64 ranks where it does among people's opinions for a reason. I mean, it set a bar, imperfect as it may have been at the time. Again, we're talking 25 years ago, but just showing what games could do. And I really think that that's something Nintendo has tried to do with almost every launch title for their consoles has tried to demonstrate something.
They changed gaming with this. That's what they did.
They do.
They changed gaming and they took it into the future because people saw that, hey, this could be done. And like, there's so many people that still say that Super Mario 64, like they're still influenced by it. So this game, I mean, it was a game changer. I mean, it set the future of gaming. Like you can't talk about this game like without giving it respect. No matter what you think about it.
Absolutely.
Like this is the game that started really 3D gaming. I mean, there
and
was
you can
3D games before
this. Argue whether it's aged well or not, whatever. But at the time, I mean, it was. This is an open concept. It's a 3D navigation. It's just it set a new bar. It absolutely set a new bar.
But like I've kind of said before, man, like this game's tough for me. It really is, because I didn't play it. Like, you know, I had the N64, but I did not play back in the day for whatever reason. Like, you know, I was 13-ish. You know, I didn't really have the funds, but I could have asked for it. But maybe I was going through my teenager stages and playing, you know, cooler, more adult games, whatever.
More
which, you know,
edgy.
You know, which is, I was a dumbass. I've said this before, but, you know, man, it sucks because I don't have that nostalgia with the game. And this is the game that I think nostalgia obviously adds a lot to the experience. So it's hard for me to talk about because I said this earlier. Like, there's always something missing with this game. And it is the nostalgia. That is what is missing, but it's kind of just, I wish I would have played it when it came out. I wish I would have experienced it. You know, I did experience it down the road, but
which is still good.
And like, sometimes you experience things when they come out, and like you just have a better understanding. Like with Ocarina of Time, we played Ocarina of Time when it came out, and so when people kind of talk about, oh, it's an okay game, it's like, hey man, you just don't get it. And nothing against them. Nothing against them. Like they weren't alive. They don't get it. And like I'm kind of like that with Super Mario 64. Like I get it, but I don't because I didn't play it when it came out. But anyways, my feelings are pretty similar to yours. Third favorite Mario game, I have Odyssey and Galaxy above it. If I did play it back in the day, I probably would have it above Galaxy, you know. But, you know, whatever. Great game, revolutionary, really set gaming into the future. Like, you know, respect, props, good job, Nintendo. One of the greatest games. I don't know if you want to say one of the greatest games ever because gaming's gotten so good nowadays. But
it has.
I would think you would have to say one of the most respected games ever because it is definitely
influential. Respected and respected.
But anyways, y'all, Super Mario 64, absolute blast talking about. Like we do all the games we talk about.
Of course.
Like I said, really it wasn't going. Yeah, it was going back and reminiscing, not all the way back to where I would have liked because my dumb ass didn't play it when I should have. But anyways, let's go ahead, wrap it up. All these links will be in the description, but you can support us on Patreon or PayPal. Patreon's kind of like a monthly subscription thing. PayPal's one-off. If you can't support us financially, feel free to leave a review or a rating. It does help out with our rankings when people search for our podcast. And we have merchandise on our websites. Two Guys Playing Zelda, TGPC Gaming. Those are affiliate shops, so we should earn a commission if you go through our links. And Red, I'm going to throw it to you here soon, but I kind of want to address the Facebook groups. Zelda Realm and Gaming Realm. I'm probably going to shut them down. They're not, like, for example, I've had 3,000 people try to join Gaming Realm this week, and it's not gamers. It's just like these people that are getting on Facebook trying to sell their products, blah, blah, blah. It's not doing what I want to do. It's not serving the purpose that I wanted to serve.
We're not talking about games.
It's just a bunch of people jumping on there trying to promote their own stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not working out. I see the way it's going. I just don't know if it's the place for our audience. And so the thing that sucks is you got to delete all the members before you erase the group. So, you know, it might not ever get deleted, but just it's kind of, I'm not active on it. I'm not going to be active on it. So those, the Facebook groups, those are kind of going away. So, but Red, do you kind of want to talk about the other stuff we got going on?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're obviously everywhere else on social media.
Yep.
I mean, you can find us out there on Twitter. We both have our Twitter handles. We're on Instagram. Not as active as we'd like to be. Trying to get back to that. Well, we were on Facebook, but that, like we said, it's
it's just not the right media for us. I don't think.
And I think the best media for us is our Discord server. Like
and Twitter. Twitter's very good too.
And Twitter. I love our Discord server. We talk Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, PC gaming. We're talking about TV shows now. A lot of anime fans on there, of course. We talk about booze, which who doesn't drink when they play video games? I don't want to meet that person. We talk about sports, mostly, a lot of soccer these days because we got some European folks on there. But also, we do football season's kicking off. American football season's kicking off. NBA's going on, MLB's going on. So we talk sports. So, like, we're out there on Discord. We're on YouTube. We've got
now
two
Us
guys.
Mania doesn't drink, and he's one of our supporters, so he's okay. I like to meet him. You're like, I don't want to meet that person. I'm like, well, Whomp's our supporter, so like, he's cool in my book.
Hey, he's a Liverpool fan. I don't want to meet him anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. You mentioned our YouTube.
Yeah, we are on YouTube. We have TGPZ Gaming and Two Guys Playing Zelda. Obviously, Two Guys Playing Zelda is where we got our start. It's all Zelda videos, walkthroughs, theories, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then TGPZ Gaming is a little more general gaming stuff. So I hope you guys listened to us or enjoyed listening to us talk about Mario 64. Hope you enjoyed us. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about Mario 64. We had a blast going back and nostalgia, reminiscing about it. I'm excited to continue. Fuck you, Hick. I'm excited to continue playing Mario All-Stars, which is already in my hands right now. So you can enjoy it at midnight tonight if you stay up late enough. But anyway, everyone, hope you enjoyed this episode. Next episode, we're probably going to jump into the big PlayStation news, the Nintendo Mini Direct. We'll tackle those topics next episode, but keep on gaming out there, guys.